On today's show, Trae Young gets traded to the Wizards. That means an Anthony Davis trade is even more likely for the Dallas Mavericks. We'll tell you why. Today's Locked On Mavs.
This is Cooper Flagg, and you're listening to Locked On Mavs.
I think that's a good question.
Good morning, Isaac. All these changes, I still got my dog Dwight Powell.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
I'm going to get a city like that.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer and making Locked On Mavs your first listen in the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Joining me, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years, right alongside me, the Trae Young youngin, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Finally got a trade today, which is good. It's good. It fills the trade druggies, trade addicts.
It finally happened
out there. Real talk though, what happens first? FanDuel has odds on it right now, but what happens first? Our third kid is born or AD gets traded?
You and your wife, not me and you.
I was just gonna leave that out there.
Every once in a while, you gotta clarify. Oh man,
my wife Barb had a few contractions yesterday.
Whoa.
But then like none today. So like we're a couple weeks from the due date. It's game time right now, and I'm like, listen, if Anthony Davis gets traded right now, you better hold that thing in there.
Your kid's coming on my birthday. 1, 2, 3. I'm calling it. Today's episode, we are going to talk about the AD trade rumors coming out of the Athletics. They dropped a piece. Sam Amick and Christian Clark dropped a lot of different things. The Mavs are at an impasse with themselves about the AD extension. They're like trying to figure out what they want with Anthony Davis. They want to keep him. They don't see a long-term future, all that. So we'll talk about those things. Also, the Warriors and Bucks got brought up in that, so we'll talk about that too. But let's start here, Isaac Harris. A little while ago, Trae Young and the Washington Wizards, he's going there. And coming back is CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. That is all. No draft picks, no nothing else for that. The Hawks have now moved on from the Trae Young era. I was listening to Brad Rowland of Locked On Hawks, and he says it's a very strange ending to the career of one of the best Hawks in franchise history. And I was like, man, that's kind of crazy. 4-time All-Star, made the All-NBA team, went to the conference finals with them. Like, that's a franchise that has not had a lot of success in their past. And so to move on from a guy like this to get just an expiring contract in CJ McCollum, who's like a viable player, but not an All-Star or anything like that. Corey Kispert, who would you consider him a young player, like a part of the core of a young core?
I guess. I mean, he's in between 25 and 30. That's all I know.
He turns 27 in a couple weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not part of a young core. That's not part of a young core. And he's got this deal for a couple more years. And it felt like the Hawks had to take on a worse contract, the Corey Kispert contract, in order to get rid of Trae Young. It's like almost they got penalized. They didn't have to give up draft picks, which a lot of people thought that maybe the Hawks would have to give the Wizards draft picks to take on his contract. But that is a wild thing and an end for Trae Young's career there. But for the Mavericks, I think this now opens up a lot of possibilities for an Anthony Davis trade, because what did we talk about yesterday? The stalemate between the Mavs and the Hawks has been, Mavs are like, well, we don't want Trae Young. And the Hawks are like, we don't want Trae Young and Anthony Davis at the same time. And so now that Trae Young has been moved, an Anthony Davis trade is much more likely, because it seems like at least Anthony Davis's camp, Clutch, and Rich Paul are really into the idea of the Atlanta Hawks for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at a trade like this, you're immediately looking at like what an afterclap could be for a team like Dallas. And
did you say an afterclap?
Yeah.
Is that a term?
Yeah, it's a word.
An afterclap?
Yeah. For a team like, right?
That is a word. Unexpected, damaging, or unsettling event following a supposedly closed affair.
That was close, right?
I think you meant aftershock.
No. You'll get
after clapping. I was like, wait, hold on. What are you clapping over there?
Check our Discord. Just
your kid's doing a couple of weeks, right?
Just check.
Hey, that's an after clap.
That's true. Check the Discord whenever you get a chance. No, but you look at it from a Dallas perspective. One of the things about Anthony Davis trade and Cody in Discord, I really tried. All right, I really tried.
Shout out Cody.
But when you look at a team like Dallas, one of the things about the AD Hawks, trade talks, trade rumors, and all that was, hey, Atlanta doesn't want to make a trade for Anthony Davis if they have Trae Young on their books. And because you have Jalen Johnson at this big number, their just salary cap is just going to be insane next summer. So this whole time, that's why we've been saying, like, man, if they found a trade or a trade for Trae Young sooner rather than later, then this makes this AD thing even more viable to happen. So
shout out to the Discord. That's amazing. Join the Discord. Links in the description and the QR code. You can get Isaac to say certain words on the show if you want.
I tried so hard.
That's maybe the best way to join our Discord. Say you can get us to say.
I was like, I just put in our Discord. I was like, what word should I incorporate into the show that Nick doesn't know? And I tried with Afterclap, but
you did use it. You used like it's pretty close.
I was just gonna roll on.
I just did not. I've never heard you use that word. I didn't know you knew that word.
I had to Google it.
I think I've heard you say all the words in your vernacular, like
even in different orders.
Oh, that's amazing.
But for
what are we talking about? Trae Young?
For Atlanta, now they have like just between three players, McCollum, Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kennard, they have $71 million in expiring contracts. And they kept all of their draft capital. So It's not like they had to attach a draft pick to shed Trae Young's contract. So now the talks have been ongoing, but now what happens between Dallas? Because honestly, if you think about it this way, Porzingis hasn't been playing for them very much. Trae Young hasn't played like meaningful basketball for them. If let's just say Ricochet is in the deal, you put it on paper, Trae Young, Porzingis, and Ricochet and Kennard for Anthony Davis, CJ McCollum, and Corey Kispert. You look at Atlanta team that's playing that has a good young core that they like. Those pieces might fit better around them than what Trae and Porzingis and Ricochet and stuff was doing, even though Ricochet had a pretty good game tonight. So I just think this ramps up, unless, we'll probably hear reporting about Dallas and Atlanta over the next 24 hours, at least kind of like, hey, where they're at, where the talks are going, some type of update. And I just think it makes it way more likely because they have the expiring contracts to give to Dallas. They have a future pick. They have, even if it's not Ricochet, like if it's Asa Newell in that deal too. So it's like, there's a bunch of options. I think a deal gets done, and we could see it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, as soon as that deal went down, I was like, well, here we go. This could happen any moment because it's so set up for Atlanta to make a trade for Anthony Davis, which is why deep down, or maybe front of mind to me, some other team will trade for Anthony Davis. Because we always see this every year, that it's like perfectly laid out, all these rumors, all the breadcrumbs for weeks, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, the Warriors have traded for, or a team out of nowhere, the Sacramento Kings have traded for Anthony Davis. And you're like, wait, where did that come from? The Clippers have traded for Anthony Davis. Like, just comes out of nowhere. So we'll see. But this definitely opens up one of the possibilities, and it's definitely an interesting move.
Yeah, and I think some of the conversation will probably like hinge on what the pick situation could be. And yes, they got the Pelicans pick. We've talked about it a million times. I'm not expecting that at all. The next type of pick is like you look at like the Cleveland pick that they own. There's a lot of, it's crazy, some protections and stuff on this pick, but it's basically the Cleveland pick is going to Atlanta. Right now it's sitting at pick 18. Even if you got that pick in the deal, a top 20 pick right now, they might move up in the standings, but to where you could go into this draft with the 18th pick and your pick at 8th or wherever you land, gives you some capital to try to move up or draft two players, whatever you want to do. There's also a future Hawks pick. And then here's the thing I want to throw at you that we've yet to talk about at all, an angle of this. And I'm curious of what you would think. If you're Dallas or if you're Atlanta and like, hey, you've been wanting the Pelicans pick for this long. We know how bad you want it.
Yeah.
We'll give you the Pelicans pick. You give us your pick.
The Mavs pick.
Yeah.
So you just make a bet on are we going to be worse or the Pelicans going to be worse? Because right now the Pelicans they're 8-31, and the Mavs are 14-23, which opens you up to not having to tank.
You then don't have to tank. Who cares what happens the rest of the year?
You don't have to shut everybody down. That's wild. That's an interesting bet.
You know what would suck though is if the lottery happens and your pick goes to like 1 or 2.
The Mavs. Well, that's what would happen to the Mavs. 2 years in a row, it goes up for the first time in franchise history.
But like the Pelicans are like a bottom team right now. They're one of the few teams that hasn't won double-digit games. So if you think that they're just going to stay there, you could. If you feel like it's if you feel like it's a lock to be like a top 4 odds of a pick, then you're kind of locked in as like.
Well, if you look at it this way, right now the Hawks are locked into a top 6 pick. If the Pelicans stay at 2, I don't know if they're going to catch the Pacers for number 1 in the lottery odds, but like you're locked into a top 6 pick. That's pretty wild, especially for this draft, right?
Yeah, be nice.
That's we should do that. We should do that debate. Let's do that for later today. Let's do a video, just you and me going back and forth on whether we would make that bet or not. I think that would be interesting.
All right.
Coming up, let's get into the rumors of the day. Anthony Davis, the Dallas Mavericks, in a stalemate, but the Mavs in a stalemate with themselves. At some point, you need to be honest with yourself, Dallas Mavericks. Talk about that coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Rocket Money. So many things happening. Let's be real. Managing your finances can be overwhelming. There's so many different things. Maybe you got yourself into some kind of situation with subscriptions or different other things, bills that keep going up, trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control of everything. And who has time to track every single transaction, or who would be crazy enough to put every single one of them in a spreadsheet every single month? Maybe that's something that I do. But Rocket Money helped me to get all that started out. I've used Rocket Money before. It's a personal finance app that helps you take control, finds, and actually cancels your unwanted subscriptions. I had one where they lowered my bill, which was kind of awesome. And so that was a great one to use for Rocket Money. Monitors your spending and doing so many more things so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Again, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Also brought to you by BetterHelp. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. As we roll into the new year, there's a lot of pressure to chase a new you. Maybe you're feeling the afterclaps of some of the decisions you made in 2025, and now you have to figure out what you're going to do in 2026. Therapy can help you understand what's been holding you back by giving you an outside perspective on your emotions, motivations, and relationships. That's why BetterHelp can be such a helpful place to start. I've used BetterHelp as well. Their therapists are fully licensed in the U.S. and can work under strict code of conduct. When you're matched with a therapist, you don't have to stick with the first one you're matched with. You can decide to change it. And that is pretty awesome too. You can switch to another therapist from their tailored recommendations at any time if that's not the right match for you. They've served over 5 million people with more than 30,000 therapists and live sessions, average 4.9 out of 5 rating across more than 1.7 million client reviews. That's crazy. BetterHelp can make it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn or /NBA. BetterHelp.com/NBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. That's what we call our listeners who listen every day. If you want to be part of the Discord, where you can pitch words for us to say on the show and do other things, talk to other Mavs fans, you can be part of the Everydayer Club. You also get ad-free episodes of the show with the Everydayer Club and access to the Discord or the text line. We'll send alerts. As soon as the Trae Young news dropped, we texted it, we sent some information, sent our thoughts on it, and then you also get access to the Discord as well. So 2 different ways to subscribe and to help us out. All right, Isaac. The Athletic dropped a piece about Anthony Davis.
Sorry, real quick. Can I interrupt you just real quick?
Is this the afterclap of what we were talking about?
One more thing. It was like a brouhaha. No, Shams, I was actually listening to Shams during the ad break. He just went on Sports Center and said that this does, I mean, everything we basically said, but it sets the Hawks up for increased financial flexibility to pursue another large contract and about pursuing Anthony Davis in season. So there you go. Okay. Nothing. I mean, it's just more fuel to the fire that if that's what Shams is talking about, that could be, it feels like based on reporting, that is part 2 of this type of
they don't report. We always say, check the source. We always say, check what they're saying, who we think it's coming from and all that. He wouldn't say that if there wasn't something brewing, that there wasn't something that they're about to set up, right? He doesn't just drop that for no reason. What's the deal that you're looking at right now? Because we've talked about a bunch. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to center around Porzingis and Kennard's expirings. Then at that point, I think it's just, I want to see if it's just, I mean, I guess the report deals McCollum and Kispert, which gives Atlanta like another $1.5 million, I think, in breathing room, but they can take more money back. They're not really restricted a ton like some of these teams. So they can take a little bit more money back. So even if you do Porzingis, and it's just Porzingis, Kennard, and let's just say it's Ace O'Neill. I mean, Ricochet makes 13, but Newell makes, I mean, he doesn't make nearly as much as that. So I forgot where, I mean, he's only like 3.5. Ricochet's contract makes it like right near Anthony Davis's, but if you put Newell in there, then the Hawks would just be taking more money back with AD's contract and stuff. So I think it centers around that. It's not about, for Dallas, it's not about, hey, where's KP fit in long term, or even, I mean, Luke Kennard's a shooter, so that's cool. Those are about expiring contracts. But for me, I mean, I've been higher on most with the Ricochet, flyer. I think it would be a pretty legit type of move if you could get him in this deal. Heck, if you could get Ricochet and a first round pick, and that Cleveland pick, with the expiring contracts, I think that's a big win for Dallas in this type of move, just for where they're at. I know it feels so weird to say that about Anthony. It's Anthony Davis, but just kind of where they're at, and the whole extension reporting that we're about to get into too. I don't want to be in it feels like it could get uglier with the extension.
Absolutely, and they could also lump this into a 3-team deal and just do it all straight up, like you just said. Mavs get Porzingis, Luke Kennard, Zachary Ricochet. Hawks get Anthony Davis, CJ McCollum, Corey Kispert. Wizards get Trae Young. Works.
Yeah.
Money matches up. Mavs take a little bit more back, but only like 80,000.
Yeah, they can only take like $1 million something back, so that would fit.
They could make it work in a different way, but that does work, and so that's something that we could definitely look at. Maybe, or they could. I guess they could probably also send. They could send like Exum to the Hawks too. They have to open up some kind of roster spot. The other thing about roster spots, they applied for a disabled player exception, and they got that today. There's all kinds of different limitations with that. I'm not holding my breath on the Mavs using that, but it becomes available. I saw CBA Mavs post this. It becomes available if they need another roster, or if they need space, or they need another exception for a player that they bring in a trade or something like that. And so this is where that could come into play.
Let me say this real quick. Let's just say the Hawks say, hey, we really want to keep Ricochet, and we don't want to put him in a deal for an Anthony Davis. And let's say they put Asa Newell in the deal.
Yeah.
So you're looking at about a $9 million difference. And to my calculations, like Atlanta could do that.
Got your calculator out?
Yeah, my TI. But I think Atlanta can do that, can take that much more money back. So if you're Dallas right there, that helps you shed some money this year to avoid second apron, some tax stuff and all of that. And it opens up some money to sign Ryan Nembhard to a standard contract. So there's a couple lanes to that. If it's not Ricochet and instead they throw in like it's Newell and a first round pick or something, and then it opens up that you're shedding $9 million right now for a couple more flexibility. So
there's a bunch of different ways, but this Trae Young deal, the bones of it opens up so many different things and avenues for the Mavs, and it sounds like the Hawks are wanting something like this. It sounds like they want to move forward. Sounds like they want to try.
I honestly kind of see it for Atlanta. Like I'm not I mean, McCollum for Trae, like you get another vet in the room, can shoot the outside shot. Kispert's another 3-point shooter. When AD plays, on paper, AD and Okongwu front line would be a lot of fun. Defensively, kind of hide some of Jalen Johnson's defensive stuff, and I see why Atlanta would do it.
The Dyson Daniels, Anthony Davis, like pick and roll defense combo is, I mean, that's lethal. That reminds you of like the Drew Holiday, Anthony Davis.
Yeah. I mean,
defensive combo for the Pelicans.
Shooting might take a hit, but anyway. I know we haven't talked. Wait, The Athletic, the other teams.
This is classic Locked On Mavs.
Well, I kind of threw us for a loop by seeing the Shams thing, and
that was the point.
That was my bad.
But it happens. It's great. I'd rather you say that. Coming up, let's get into the Mavs are at an impasse with this Anthony Davis extension, which is one of the reasons why we think a trade is so imminent. We'll tell you why. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season. FanDuel is making them even better every Friday night before games tip off. FanDuel gives you a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour on FanDuel. You can check out all kinds of different things and different odds they have between 5 and 6:30 p.m. Central Time. You can look at some of the awards right now. The Rookie of the Year award. I did this yesterday, and I was kind of shocked. Cooper Flagg minus 700 to win Rookie of the Year. Con Canepo plus 700. And VJ Edgecombe plus 2,500, Derek Queen plus 4,000, Dylan Harper plus 10,000. The gap between Cooper Flagg and everybody else is so big right now to win Rookie of the Year that if you're like a long shot person, you're like, hey, I don't know, VJ Edgecombe plus 2,500. You bet $100, you can win $2,000 if he ends up winning Rookie of the Year. So different things like that. But check back during Happy Hour because there's all kinds of other things you can do during FanDuel. So before every tip off on Fridays, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour Fridays, 5 to 6:30 Central Time. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac. Maybe we'll talk about this Athletic article.
Yeah, let's talk about it. It was fun.
The Athletic posted this article about Anthony Davis, and it confirmed a lot of the different things that we've already kind of talked about and heard about Anthony Davis. But one of the things in there that I found interesting.
Shout out Christian Clark,
Sam Amick in there. Really good stuff from them. The Mavs are expected to continue to listen to offers on Davis in the coming weeks, but according to team sources, their front office doesn't feel like it must deal Davis before the deadline. So the Mavs are trying to put out there, hey, we can be patient on this. We can take it into the offseason. We're fine doing that. We're not desperate. And that's been my thing the whole time. The Mavs cannot look desperate to deal Anthony Davis. That puts you in a really bad spot because then all of a sudden teams are like, well, why don't you give us a future first round pick, or why don't you give us, a I don't know, whatever else little value the Mavs could actually give up in a trade that would be palatable. Then also this part of the article, the team is interested in seeing Davis and Flagg play alongside Kyrie Irving and hasn't closed the door on the idea of Davis remaining in Dallas long term. Okay, there's that. Then there's this. However, league sources say Davis's representatives do not believe there's an extension agreement to be had with the Mavericks in the upcoming offseason. 80s Camp and Clutch don't believe that there's an extension. The Mavs are still kind of open to an extension, but who do you believe, Isaac?
I mean, I just think it's funny. This is like, hey, the Mavs are like, we're open to keeping him long term. So are you willing to do what it takes to keep him long term? No, not really. But we are open to keeping it. It's like, all right. It's just I think it's the nicest way possible, saying like, hey, you're not part of like what we're wanting to do moving forward. Be nice, right? Like,
the former GM of the team thought long term was 3 years. The rest of his deal this year, next year, and the player option year after that. That was long term to him.
Yeah, I think, and because of that, obviously Rich Paul and them have that feeling about next summer. It's like, hey, well, if they're not gonna, I think one of the telling parts in that from Amick and Christian was, it's that Rich Paul is is aggressively, or I forgot how, not aggressively, or asking the Mavs to be more aggressive. There you go.
League sources say Paul has already encouraged the Mavericks to be more aggressive in addressing Davis's current market.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're already getting that from Rich and Clutch right now of, hey, come on, if you're not going to do the extension, like you need to be looking for some, for some trade options here. If that's happening right now, how do you think that's going to be in the summer? Because like, it doesn't seem awkward and everything right now. But if you get to the summer, that's where I just don't want to deal with that. Like maybe I can hear the argument for like before the draft, but if you get to the summer, this stuff's just going to get, I don't want to deal with all that.
It's a lot. It's a drama. And then all of a sudden you're forced to trade Anthony Davis, which is something you don't want to do either, because then that puts you at a bad spot with other teams across the league. I mean, there's just a lot of posturing right now from both sides, and posturing from the Mavs camp. They're posturing to the rest of the league that they could see a long-term solution with Anthony Davis. Then they're kind of posturing with Anthony Davis's representatives, like, hey, we don't see a long-term future. That's why we're shopping you.
Yeah. Yeah. And
do you think it's because they have co-interim GMs and one GM is telling them one thing and the other one's telling them the other thing?
When the real GM is on the bench? No.
Yeah, Jason Kidd is telling him one thing. Michael Finley's telling him one thing. Riccardi's telling him another thing. You imagine? You're just... Hey, they could do it. The thing about negotiations is kind of anything goes, right? Like it.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get what you want and trying to get what your team needs, because the Mavs need to move forward with this rebuild. They need to get what they can get out of this Anthony Davis deal, and they cannot give him an extension to move forward. That's been our thing the whole time.
Yeah. What's the other teams that they said in there?
Yeah. The last thing we'll do here is the Warriors don't want to trade Draymond or Jimmy in a Anthony Davis trade, but they're interested, and the Bucks have registered interest in AD too.
Well, unless they're going to give up Steph, that's the only way they can do it is Jimmy or Draymond in the deal.
Yeah, they don't even know what other contracts they could potentially use.
I mean, it has to be Kuminga and Draymond, or it has to be Jimmy. So it's one of those.
Their next highest contract, Kuminga, Moody, and Buddy Hield only equal $43 million.
Yeah,
that's $11 million under what AD makes. Like, that doesn't even. You'd have to throw in Horford. Draymond only makes 25, so that's why he's the one that makes a lot of sense. Jimmy and AD almost make the exact money, like almost to the dollar. And so you could
like
send them for each other if they really wanted to go that direction.
The Bucks one was interesting to me. I don't see why Milwaukee would do it.
Because they're desperate. They're so desperate right now.
I know. I mean, it would have to be. Yeah, I mean, it's like Miles Turner and Kuzma, and I mean, if you can get a future first from Milwaukee, then I think that's super valuable. It's like a Warriors future first, I think. But a lot of these other deals, this is the thing with the AD market right now for Dallas, that you go back to from the very beginning of the Anthony Davis trade stuff, when in some of our first pods that we were doing. I said three things that I think Dallas will look for: expiring contract, a young flyer, and a draft pick. And so far, that feels like that matches everything with Atlanta, and I think that's why Atlanta is in the whatever driver's seat, if we want to say that. When you look at the other teams, it just means taking back more money. I mean, even like looking at Toronto stuff right now, like RJ Barrett's playing pretty dang good basketball. Like they win when RJ plays. So I don't even know if like for them, it has to be Ingram, RJ or Scotty Barnes. And I mean, that just isn't, or I mean, I guess quickly and Pirtle or something. And I don't want any bit of Pirtle's contract.
No.
But like you look at a Bucks deal, you're taking on future money of Kuzma and Miles Turner. You look at, even Golden State, you're taking on another year or so Jimmy Butler, or more money with Kuminga and Draymond. So it's just like the other deals just require more money, which I think in turn you would have to ask for more draft capital. For Atlanta, you might get a little bit of taste of all three of expiring cap relief. They don't want to be a tax repeater team, especially for this type of team. And right now, before an Anthony Davis trade as constructed, they're going to be a tax team again. So the easiest way to get under that tax is in this Anthony Davis deal. And that's why it just feels like everything's lining up for Atlanta to satisfy both sides.
One of the quotes in the article says, every team in the East believes they're an Anthony Davis away from making the finals, one high-level league source said.
Is Nico still considered a high-level league source?
Well, if he's on the Pacers, did they make the NBA finals?
Yeah, the Pacers.
The Nets, he might. The Nets, I think their defense would be unstoppable or unscore-onable if they got Anthony Davis. And
Detroit, like
definitely.
But I feel like they could make it without him, though.
Well, a lot of these teams could without well, you could definitely make it. Like the Raptors, I feel like are another team that's just like they're right on the cusp where you go, all right, we fixed this center situation, and all of a sudden we're cooking with gas here.
Yeah.
Do they cook with gas up there? Is it petrol? Do they call it petrol up there?
I don't know, but I would be fascinated with the Atlanta experience if this goes down. It's
the
just
Atlanta experience, them getting Anthony Davis.
Yeah, and just how that shapes the East. They've been on a losing streak, so that's why I'm like, I could see them wanting to do this. I mean, they're doing the trade deal now. It wouldn't shock me if we see the Anthony Davis trade over the next 2 or 3 days, just because you can only go so far down in the standings. And I should have had it pulled up in front of me, but I'm pretty sure they're the 10th spot.
They're in 9th right now. They did win tonight, which is crazy. Trae Young was there on the bench and left at the end of the game and knew he was getting traded.
Harrison Barnes.
Kispert warmed up for the Wizards tonight too. He was like putting on his stuff and then they declared him out. But yeah, the Hawks are 18-21. They're 11 games out of first, and it's 3.5 games out of 6th. It's not too bad.
Yeah. So I'll also be curious to see what Anthony Davis's status is like for, because that was a teller for like CJ McCollum, Corey Kispert. You know, it's like, oh, they're out tonight with a contusion, which is just
think
basically
Anthony Davis plays in Utah?
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming he will. But if we get a random, hey, he's out, then
game after that is at Chicago. Going home for him.
Will we get 6 games played in a row?
Is that on the table now? Are we there?
I don't know how many games have we gotten so far since he's been back. 4.
Let's do the Anthony Davis. This is 3 games in a row. So,
oh dang. So what game would it be? What we have Utah next.
Utah and then Chicago. And then the 6th game would be Brooklyn at home for the Mavs on Monday.
All right, if he gets to the Brooklyn game, we have a new streak.
That's still.
But if he gets traded before the Brooklyn game,
he's been on the
Anthony
Mavs
Davis's
year.
80s tenure in Dallas will not have longer than 5 games played.
Yeah, he hasn't played 5 games in a row yet.
Well, he's played 5 games in a row.
More than 5 games in a row.
Yeah.
There you go. We'll have another show for you later today on the feed. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Check the QR code, links in the description for different ways to follow the show, including the Everydayers Club and the text line. Both of them get you access to our Discord where you can talk with Mavs fans. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.